A sound, stable financial system for the people. Video transcript. We live in a world full of possibilities, technologically more advanced than ever before. And yet many people are experiencing uncertainty, rising living costs and growing inequality, as well as widespread tension, division, war, and destruction. Does this have anything to do with the financial system? Oh yes. The current financial system serves people less and less. How can we improve it? A key issue is the way money is created today. A large proportion of our money is created through loans. This means that new money enters circulation, but at the same time, debt is created. And interest is charged on this debt. This has far-reaching consequences. Because interest means that wealth tends to flow to where wealth already exists. This leads to an increasing concentration of capital. Governments, companies, and private individuals must service these debts. Money is created out of thin air and interest is earned without any work being done. A quote often attributed to Henry Ford goes, "If people understood our money and banking system, we would have a revolution before tomorrow morning." Growth becomes a compulsion. Not necessarily because it serves people, but because the system demands it. Conflicts arise in this tension. Resources are becoming scarcer. Interests clash. Wars break out. So that growth can resume afterwards. There are good ideas and practical examples that seek to put money back more firmly at the service of people and to avoid wars. Central banks should once again be placed under state administration. At present, states have to pay high interest rates on money they borrow from private commercial banks. This means the public sector finances itself at great cost, whilst private actors rake it in, without creating any real value in return. This system not only burdens national budgets, but also hampers human development. For when high interest rates leave no funds for social services, education, or infrastructure, it is the less privileged who suffer most. A state-controlled central bank could provide money in the public interest, cost-effectively and with the common good in mind. This would not only be fairer, but also more democratic and sustainable for society as a whole. The separate banking system aims to separate traditional commercial banks from high-risk investment banking in order to better protect savers' deposits. Whilst commercial banks focus on loans and deposits, specialized investment banks undertake riskier financial transactions. This prevents losses from speculative transactions from jeopardizing customers' money. Overall, the system will bring greater stability to the financial sector and strengthen confidence in banks. The sovereign money reform proposes that only the central bank should create money, whilst commercial banks would be permitted to lend only existing money. This would result in a single secure money cycle, and deposits would be protected even in the event of bank failures. New money would enter circulation debt-free, for instance through government spending or directly to citizens, whilst the central bank continues to ensure price stability. Profits from money creation would benefit the general public, and the redistribution of wealth from the poor to the rich could be reduced. Overall, the reform creates a more stable, fairer, and crisis-resilient financial system. One concept is the so-called interest-free circulating money. The idea behind this is that money should not be hoarded, but should remain in circulation. It should fulfill its purpose, namely, to facilitate the exchange of goods and services. In such models, money loses value slightly over time if it is not used. This provides an incentive to invest or spend it. The result is a more vibrant, stable economy in which there is less pressure from the burden of interest. This was implemented very successfully in Wurgel, Austria, until the banks banned it. A successful example of an interest-free money circulation system is Islamic banking. Interest-bearing transactions, derivatives, and stock market speculation are not permitted there. Instead, depositors are genuine partners who share in profits or losses. The money invested flows directly into the real economy and generates real added value, rather than being used for speculation on the stock market. Furthermore, moral rules apply. No investments are made in businesses involving alcohol, gambling, pornography, tobacco, weapons, or pork. Islamic banks are considered crisis-proof. They weathered the 2009 financial crisis remarkably well, without skyrocketing government debt or stock market crashes. In Islamic finance, no one can create money out of thin air. Every transaction is tied to real assets or services. This interest-free system, anchored in the real economy, brought stability and justice for all until it was destroyed by the Arab Spring. The constructive concept still exists. Another approach is regional currency. The aim here is to strengthen local economic cycles. Money stays within the region, supports local businesses, and fosters community and resilience. This can be a vital building block, particularly in times of great economic uncertainty. It has been successfully implemented in Qingdao and elsewhere, until they started taxing it to prevent it. Gredido is a public good currency modeled on bees. They work for themselves, for the community, and for the entire ecosystem. That is precisely what money should do too. Unlike in today's system, money creation lies once again with the state. A generous, debt-free national budget becomes possible. 30% of the money created could be allocated to a basic income, to the state itself, and to environmental causes. There is no longer any interest. Whoever lends money receives the same value back. At the same time, Gredido has a built-in, gentle transience that creates incentives to keep money in circulation rather than hoarding it. Payment transactions run via a stable cryptocurrency, and the system regulates itself through the natural cycle of growth and decay. The money supply and thus prices remain stable, without inflation, without speculation, without compulsive growth. This makes fair, interest-free, and ecologically sustainable economic activity possible. Bitcoin, the first and world's strongest cryptocurrency, has been in operation since 2009. Independent, uncensorable, and decentralized. It is a peer-to-peer system without banks, available to everyone, and has survived countless attacks to date. Security is high. Data loss and spying can be minimized through non-electronic storage and strong signatures. Particularly valuable, Bitcoin is capped at 21 million units. No central bank, no politician, and no hacker can inflate it. This makes Bitcoin even more resilient than gold, as it cannot be printed and remains independent of government monetary policy. However, there are challenges: high energy consumption and price volatility. Solar energy is already being used extensively here. Nevertheless, Bitcoin offers a fair, transparent, and censorship-resistant alternative to the traditional financial system. The financial transaction tax is a small levy on trading in shares, foreign exchange, bonds, and derivatives, levied on every transaction. It is primarily intended to curb speculative and short-term high-frequency trading, whilst leaving the real economy largely unaffected. At the same time, it could generate significant revenue for governments, which could be used, for example, for social projects and greater equity. For mathematically, in a free system, things always become more unequal. Due to its broad applicability and technical feasibility, it is considered comparatively easy to introduce and difficult to circumvent. Overall, it aims to stabilize the financial markets whilst contributing to greater global justice. The windfall tax aims to impose a special tax on exceptionally high profits that arise not from one's own efforts, but from crises or specific market conditions. Such profits often arise in large corporations or in situations such as pandemics or wars, whilst other market participants suffer losses. Targeted taxation of these windfall profits could generate additional government revenue and achieve greater fairness. The calculation is based on unusually sharp increases in profits relative to the capital employed. The problem is that high profits from crises create an incentive to cause crises themselves in order to make a lot of money. Wealth and power continue to concentrate, to the detriment of all humanity. All this shows that alternatives exist. Much has been tried, and much has failed due to resistance to reform. And perhaps the future lies in a combination of different approaches. A global system for large-scale exchange, regional systems for local stability, and new digital models that enable innovation. Money is not an end in itself. It is a tool to serve life. Perhaps we are currently at a turning point to create a more livable future for everyone. For through the concentration of capital, the economy dies. The masses have ever less money to stimulate the economy. This is a systemic automatism. It is also about the question of how we, as humanity, want to live together. For people living in poverty, and indeed the rich, are very sick and unhappy. Shall we continue with colonialism, exploitation, wars, and destruction to force growth? Or growth and a life of dignity for all? Then everyone would be better off at every level of human existence. And that corresponds to true humanity and adulthood, living responsibly for oneself, others, and the greater good.